Hey, welcome back to the channel. So in this video, we're gonna be talking about whether the 50mm at f1.2 is worth it when you compare it to the 50 f1.8. So the reason we're gonna be comparing these two lenses is because they're both 50mm lenses. One of them shoots at f1.8 and the other one shoots at f1.2. And I'm here to answer whether that 1.2 is worth it when you compare it to the 50 1.8. So for starters, the most glaringly obvious difference between the two is gonna be the size. Even with the lens cap on, trying to hold them at a similar angle, you can see right there that the 50 1.2 is absolutely just gargantuan compared to the 50 1.8. So most of that is due to the better optical quality and also being able to open up to f1.8 versus f1.2 will need a different design to accommodate for the wider aperture. In terms of weight, the 50 1.2 weighs significantly more than the 50 1.8. I absolutely love using my 50 1.8, and the reason is that it is very compact, it is very light, and I think that you can easily go a whole event or wedding day with this lens and not even notice that it's on your camera. When you combine that with a camera body such as a C6 system body, the combination and flexibility of being able to move and have a light kit with the 50 1.8 is something that I absolutely love using myself. Now, when I was using the 50 f1.2, I definitely noticed the weight as I was holding the camera. So this is what the 50 1.2 looks like on the Nikon Z Mark II. You can see that the lens is very big, and in terms of handling, whenever I'm holding the camera like this, I can definitely tell that this is very front heavy and it causes a lot of strain here. You can always put your hand on the barrel of the lens to help with the weight. Now, to my favorite, the 50 1.8 is really small and it feels really nice. And when handling the camera one-handed like this, there is absolutely no problem or no immediate fatigue that I feel on my wrist area when compared to the 50 1.2 on the Nikon Z6. This is a very well-balanced setup, and I absolutely love shooting on a setup like this. Now we're gonna talk about the price. One of these costs 4 times as much as the other one, and that would be that the 50 1.2 costs 4 times as much as the 50 1.8. What makes that lens worth it? The main obvious thing that draws most people to a lens like the 50 1.2 is gonna be the f1.2 aperture. So that means that it opens up wider than the f1.8. I have to admit, as I was using the 50 1.2 and I was looking on the back screen of my camera, I could definitely tell a difference since I'm so used to the 50 1.8. I could tell that the colors looked more contrasty, more saturated, and I can also tell that the depth of field made the image feel a little bit more dreamlike. Now those aren't really scientific terms. Obviously I can say that the depth of field was slightly greater than the f1.8, but that's just the feeling that it gave me as I was using it. Other qualities that the 50 1.2 will do better than the 50 1.8 would have to be focus breathing. If you're into video, this basically means that as you focus from front or to back or back to front, the framing won't expand or shrink much as you zoom through the focusing range on the 50 f1.2. For the price, the 50 1.8 does a spectacular job at handling the exact same thing. Just that for the money, the 50 1.2 will display an even better control of that focus breathing. As you rack focus from front to back or have an erratic moving subject, the focus breathing won't be distracting to your audience as you use this lens. I'm not saying that the 50 1.8 is a slouch, but I'm saying that the 50 1.2 just has a bit more better control, since it's better optimized, and that's where some of that money goes towards. The main thing that I noticed when I was using the 50 1.2 was just how heavy it felt. I didn't really feel much of a difference to what I was offering to a client when using this lens compared to the 1.8. I suppose that you could say that the 50 1.2 looks more professional since bigger equal better, but in terms of handling and long-term ergonomics during a long event day, I would say that I would get tired quickly of the 50 1.2, not only because it's limited to only shooting that focal length, and I personally love using zoom lenses for their flexibility, especially on the Nikon Z mount. Those zoom lenses are just as fantastic as some of the primes. Obviously, they're not optically perfect all throughout the zoom range, but it still deliver a much better optical quality when compared to DSLR mounts. such as the Nikon F mount. And for size comparison, here's the 51.2 compared to the 24-70 f2.8s. And here's what that looks like when the 24-70 is at 70 millimeters versus the 51.2. The 51.2 is a massive lens. Ergonomics matter a lot, and you could get fatigued with the 51.2, and over long terms might cause some issues for you. And you might be saying, well, that was compared to a zoom lens. Well, to add another comparison, here's what the 51.2 looks like next to the Plana 135 1.8. And even though they both look to be about the same size, I find that the weight of the Plana is more evenly distributed throughout the lens body versus the 51.2 that feels front heavy. So would I recommend people buy the 51.2? I'm gonna have to say no. Unless you're one of those photographers that only shoots primes and just needs the best version of that lens, which in this case would be the 51.2. I find that for most people, this lens is too specialized, too expensive, and the difference between the 51.8 and the 51.2, in my opinion, aren't worth the investment. I do understand that the 51.2 delivers better optical quality and performance compared to the 51.8, but the 51.8 is no slouch. So the diminishing returns on investment in terms of quality are just not worth it. You're talking about maybe going from, like 0 to this is where the 51.8 is at, and then you're just taking it slightly higher with the 51.2. Unless you're a studio photographer that demands the absolute best in terms of sharpness, contrast, detail, all those things, and you make your living with only a 51.2, in that case I say that you already know you need this lens and that you're gonna buy it. But if you are somebody that is starting out or looking to expand your kit in other directions to offer more flexibility, I think that the 51.8 offers tremendous value for the price and also delivers on all the great things I was talking about with the 51.2. It's not a slouch, it's fantastic for video, super quiet when focusing, makes close to zero noise whenever you're using it. So for the price, I'd say that the 51.8 offers tremendous value. Not only is this lens super sharp, has been regarded super well by online communities left and right, but the price to performance is just incredible. Not only is the 51.8 such a great buy for the price, you can then invest the remaining money that you would have spent on the 51.8 on other lenses or other accessories to make your products better. Not only do I love the optical quality of the 51.8, I absolutely adore the form factor and how tiny it is. This makes it perfect for occasions such as balancing on a gimbal or photographing for extended periods of time such as a wedding. If anyone's starting out would ask me, which one of these two lenses should they get? Regardless of budget, I'm still gonna steer them to the 51.8 because of how good the lens performs for the price. It's fantastic, there's no denying that. And the 51.2, although superior to the 51.8, the price difference doesn't make any sense to me, especially if you're just starting out. There's other holes in your kit that you could be filling with different types of gear, such as lighting or audio if you're doing video. And if you're a photographer, you could also be investing in a second camera body for a backup with a separate lens, or adding more lenses to your photography kit, or flashes, or any other accessories such as that. So if you absolutely adore shooting on prime lenses, there's no doubt in my mind that you'll be more than satisfied with the 51.2. Just mind you that the weight when put on a camera body such as a Z6 could be a problem. So instead of investing all your eggs in one basket on the 51.2, you could also get different primes. I absolutely love the Nikon Z primes, and I'd say some of my favorites have to be the 35 1.8, the 24 1.8, and you can mix and match these however you want. But what I'm trying to say is that for the price of one 50 f1.2, you can get 2 or maybe even 3 lenses depending on what deals you find online. So for a very large amount of money, you can get one 50 1.2 lens, or you take that money and maybe buy 2 to 3 lenses that will provide different looks and focal lengths for you to try and do different work with. I absolutely love all the Nikon Z primes at f1.8. I think they absolutely deliver an incredible optical quality for photos and very dynamic performance for video shooters. They're very quiet, they have minimal focus breathing, and they make it really easy to just hold throughout a whole production day. And other perks such as with them being so small and light, these are super easy to balance on the gimbal. So my suggestion for people that are just starting out is to go ahead and buy the 51.8. You won't be disappointed with the performance, and you'll be more than happy with what it offers to you. Take some of the money that you would have invested into the 50-1.2 and maybe instead consider investing into some extra CF Express cards or SD cards. You can never have too many of these, and they're always nice to have backups so you don't run out of room. Or maybe a second camera body. If you only have one camera body, instead of buying a new lens, I highly advise you that you get a second camera body, either for a backup or so you can dual shoot with a 35 1.8 and an 85 1.8 or any other combination of lens that you look for. Me personally, on a wedding day, I love to shoot on my 24-70 f2.8 and on my 70-200 f2.8. And if you feel like you don't have a fully fledged out lens kit yet, I highly recommend sticking with the 50 1.8 and filling in gaps in your lens lineup, such as the 70-200 f2.8. This is a fantastic lens and offers wide, versatile coverage compared to the 50 1.2, which is a one-trick pony. And most of all, kind of cliche, but remember to invest in yourself and try learning new photographing techniques. Gear does matter, but what matters most overall is your technique and your ability to get the most out of your lenses. If you feel that you are a photographer that solely enjoys shooting at 50mm, then definitely get the 1.2. You won't be disappointed with its performance, and it has absolutely stellar depth of field and is just a great lens overall. If you're a more general purpose photographer or videographer, I do recommend that you diversify your lens lineup and upgrade other supporting accessories before you invest into such a specialized lens such as the 50 1.2. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you found this useful, and if you did, consider leaving a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, consider subscribing to the channel. My name is Justin, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya!